Welcome back to The Life with the Browns. The camera opens on a courtroom packed wall to wall. Every chair taken, every space filled. And yet, you could have heard a pin drop. No whispers. No shifting feet. Not even the scratch of a pen. The silence wasn't empty. It was heavy, pressing into the skin, stealing the breath from your chest. In the front row, TLC producers sat frozen, pens hovering uselessly above their notepads. Behind them, members of the Brown family shifted uncomfortably. Some looked away, unable to meet the eyes around them. Others stared straight ahead, bracing for the inevitable wreck they knew was coming. And then, Christine Brown rose. The creak of her chair against the polished floor sounded louder than it should have. She stood slowly, deliberately. Her emerald green blouse smoothed with careful hands. Not vanity, not show, armor, as though preparing herself for battle. Her face, calm. Her body still. But her hands trembled at her sides. Not with fear, with rage. Years of rage buried beneath stage smiles for the cameras. Years of tears swallowed in silence. Years of whispered it's okays that were never okay. Christine looked to the judge. Her voice at first, low, fragile, on the verge of breaking. Your Honor, for more than 10 years, I contributed money into a joint grocery fund. I believed it was for all of us, all of the wives, all of the children. That's what I was told. That's what I trusted. She stopped. The air snapped tight. Christine swallowed hard. And when she spoke again, her voice cracked like thunder across the room. But it was a lie. The gallery gasped, erupting in whispers. On the defense side, Robyn clutched a tissue, blinking furiously, lips parting but no sound escaping. Behind her, Cody sat stiffly, arms locked across his chest, eyes fixed forward. As if none of this was about him. As if the blast in front of him wasn't born of his own silence. Christine turned, facing the jury directly. I fed Robyn's family while my own children lived off scraps. The words landed like a blow. That wasn't sisterhood, she continued, her voice rising. That was betrayal. And I am here today because no one else ever stood up to it. Not in our homes. Not on our show. And not in our so-called family. The judge's brows lifted, but he did not stop her. He let her speak. Because this was no longer testimony. This was a reckoning. Christine reached into her bag. From it, she pulled a paper. Frayed, worn, creased from being folded and unfolded hundreds of times. This, she declared, is the original family pact. The one where we promised to split money for groceries equally. Every wife. Every child. Food for all. Her voice faltered, then hardened. But over time I learned, sharing only counted when it was me giving. Never when it was me asking. At the defense table, Robyn whispered something into her lawyer's ear. But the attorney didn't answer. She, like everyone else, was watching Christine. Christine pressed on. I'll never forget one evening. My daughter Isabel was crying. All we had left were eggs and peanut butter. I called Robyn, explained we were short, and asked if we could borrow from the household fund. Do you know what she told me? Christine's jaw clenched, her eyes locked on the jury. She told me her kids were picky eaters. That she'd already placed the monthly order and couldn't spare anything. But I had deposited my share just 2 days earlier. My children were part of that order. Or so I believed. A hush fell. Somewhere in the gallery, a single whisper. Wow. Christine lowered her head briefly, then raised it again with fire in her eyes. That's when I began keeping records. She walked to the plaintiff's table, lifting a heavy box and setting it on the witness stand with a thud. 10 years, she said. 10 years of bank deposits, receipts, delivery slips. 10 years proving the same pattern. My money spent on Robyn's groceries. My children left with nothing but crusts. And then Robyn broke. I didn't do anything wrong? She snapped, her voice shrill. I have younger kids. They have needs. Christine's just... But the judge's hand shot up. You will have your chance, Mrs. Brown. Wait your turn. Christine didn't flinch. Didn't even look at Robyn. You always said you needed Robyn, but we needed too. I had 6 kids in one house and no husband at the table. You had Cody on your couch every night, and cupboards overflowing. Fresh fruit, meat, shelves bursting. My children grew up believing we were poor. But the truth, her voice fell to a whisper. The truth is they weren't poor. They were neglected. Tears welled in her eyes, but she refused to let them fall. The cameras outside would later capture that moment. Producers admitted they had never seen Christine so fierce. And then she turned to the judge once more. This isn't about money. It's about fairness. It's about whether children eat or go hungry. It's about promises made and broken. I didn't come here to hurt anyone. I came here to protect the people I love. The judge nodded slowly. Thank you, Miss Brown. Christine exhaled, a weight finally leaving her shoulders. Across the aisle, Robyn fiddled with her shredded tissue. And Cody, he still wouldn't look up. Christine's words hung in the air like smoke after fire. But now the evidence was about to speak. Her lawyer, Rachel Vance, rose to her feet, pointing toward the mountain of binders. Your Honor, she said calmly, we are presenting Exhibit A. The courtroom screen flickered to life. Pages of records, graphs, bank statements filling the air with hard proof. Gasps spread again. Cody shifted uncomfortably. Robyn whispered urgently to her attorney, who only scribbled notes. And on the giant screen, the contrast was undeniable. Robyn's pantry, shelves lined with organic goods, vitamins, bins neatly labeled. Christine's fridge nearly empty. The truth was now in plain sight. Fridge nearly empty. The truth was now in plain sight. The air in the courtroom was heavy again. The kind of silence that tells you everyone already knows a storm is about to break. On the screen above the jury, photographs flashed one after another. Christine's refrigerator, bare shelves, a half stick of butter clinging to its wrapper, 3 eggs rolling at the bottom, and a lonely bottle of off-brand ketchup tipped sideways. That was it. Nothing more. Then another photo appeared, this time Robyn's deep freezer, stuffed to the brim. Stacks of frozen salmon, bags of fruit, ready-to-bake meals, enough meat to last a month. The contrast was damning. Rachel, the plaintiff's attorney, stepped forward. Her voice carried a precise calmness, the kind that slices sharper than a shout. Miss Brown, she asked Christine, are these photographs authentic? Christine nodded once. I took them the same day. 2 households. Same grocery budget. But one fridge looked like poverty. The other looked like privilege. The jury shifted uncomfortably. A single juror dabbed at their eyes. Rachel's tone grew firm. This is not jealousy. This is justice. My client paid into a system she was told was equal. What she did was fund another woman's overflowing pantry while her own children rationed milk at the breakfast table. The words cut deep. You could feel the tension hanging between every row. Rachel clicked again. Exhibit B appeared on the screen. Venmo, PayPal, line after line of transactions. Over 100 payments, all categorized under grocery or house fund. Every single one sent directly to Robyn Brown. The receipts matched. The bank records verified them, but the deliveries? Rachel paused, then dropped the hammer. 95% of every single order went to one address, Robyn's house. A map lit up on the monitor, delivery pins scattered across it like bullet holes. Only a handful were for Janelle or Mary. And Christine? Less than 5% in over a decade. Cody leaned back, exhaling loudly as though the numbers themselves had betrayed him. And then, Robyn finally spoke. Her voice cracked, trembling in the stillness. I had the youngest children. They needed lunches, school snacks. I wasn't hoarding. I was just ordering more. Rachel didn't flinch. So, Mrs. Brown, are you saying you used a common fund, a fund contributed by all wives, for your own children alone? Robyn hesitated. Well, I didn't keep track. Rachel pressed forward. But you arranged the orders? You made the calls. You approved the deliveries. You managed the schedules. Robyn's head dipped in slow defeat. And in 10 years, Rachel continued, her voice like steel, Christine, who contributed nearly half of this fund, received only 7 grocery drop-offs. The courtroom froze. Rachel tapped the screen one last time. A recording began to play. Christine's voice crackled through the speakers. Hey, Robyn, I saw the Costco order. Was any of that for our house? Robyn's reply came, flat and unapologetic. No, sorry. The kids needed extra snacks. I'll make sure you get something next time. Christine's voice again, sharper now. It's been 5 months since we've gotten anything. And Robyn's chilling response. Yeah, I know. But this order was kind of necessary. The audio ended, the final line echoing in the room. Yeah, I know. But this order was kind of necessary. Christine rose quietly, a printed screenshot trembling in her hand. There was never a next time, she said. Her voice quivered, but she did not cry. I started making my own bread, not because I wanted to, but because I couldn't buy a loaf and still afford fruit for my kids' lunches. The jury watched her with a mix of disbelief and sorrow. Rachel's closing words pierced through the silence. This is not about food. This is about what the food represents: love, fairness, safety, dignity. And for 10 years, that was stolen from half this family, while the other half ate seconds. Christine lowered her gaze. She didn't need to beg for sympathy. The truth was already louder than any tears. But before the air could settle, the judge cleared his throat. The court will now hear the testimony of the next witness, Miss Gwendlin Brown. Gasps rippled through the gallery. Heads turned. Cameras clicked. And slowly, with every eye locked on her, Gwendlin rose from her seat and walked to the stand, like the storm everyone had been waiting for. The doors seemed to close heavier as Gwendlin Brown took her steps toward the witness stand. Plain gray blazer, black jeans. No makeup, no jewelry, no mask to hide behind. Just truth. Christine lifted her eyes toward her daughter, eyes filled with gentle pride, gratitude, even apology. But Gwen didn't look back. Her gaze was locked on Robyn, sharp and unblinking. The bailiff swore her in. Her voice carried clean and unshaken. I do. Rachel, Christine's attorney, approached carefully, not wanting to break the intensity already hanging in the air. Miss Brown, can you tell the court your relationship to the plaintiff? Gwen's tone was calm, distinct, but edged with something more powerful than nerves. I'm her daughter. I'm one of Christine Brown's 6 children. And your age? 23. And during the years your mother was contributing to this so-called grocery fund, were you living in her home? Yes, from childhood, until I went away for college breaks. That was my home. Rachel nodded. And in that home, did you ever notice anything unusual about the groceries? Gwen gave a bitter laugh. It wasn't humor. It was anguish wrapped in irony. Yeah, I noticed we didn't have any. The courtroom chuckled, the kind of uneasy laughter that breaks through tension. Even the judge's lips curved briefly, before he composed himself again. But Gwen leaned forward, her voice lowering into something more raw, more dangerous. Not mere hurt, betrayal. Growing up, I thought we were broke. That's what I believed. We had dinners, sure, but they were stretched thin. Rice, frozen corn, sometimes just toast and peanut butter for supper. That was normal for us. That's what we thought life was. The jury leaned closer as Gwen's words pierced through the silence. But when I went to babysit at Robyn's, Gwen's eyes shifted finally, cutting across the room toward Robyn. Her house was like Costco exploded in it. I'm talking name-brand cereals, fresh fruits, organic yogurts, juice boxes, rotisserie chickens, frozen meals, snacks, every kind of snack. Her pantry looked like it was feeding a small army. And yet, our fridge at home had 3 eggs and ketchup. Rachel gave her space, then asked, were you aware that your mother was paying into the same grocery budget that funded that food? Gwen's jaw tightened. Yeah, she showed me. I remember one time, she sent $800 to Robyn, labeled it grocery share. We didn't see a single box from that order. Not one. The words hit hard. The jury exchanged glances, jaws tightening. She told me once there wasn't enough to go around that time. Not enough for everyone. But somehow she had enough for her own house. Gwen's voice cracked for just a second, but she didn't look away from Robyn. Rachel's tone shifted. Miss Brown, did you ever confront Robyn directly? A long pause. Gwen swallowed. Then, yeah, once, I was 17. After babysitting, I asked if we could bring back a few snacks for our house. Just a couple of things. The room went silent. And what was her response? Rachel asked gently. Gwen's eyes narrowed. Her voice was steady but heavy with memory. She looked right at me and said, those are for my kids. The gasp that followed was immediate. A ripple of shock and outrage coursed through the gallery. Even Christine, seated just feet away, dropped her eyes to her lap, biting her lip hard, fighting tears that threatened to spill. Rachel let the silence linger before projecting a text exchange on the screen. Gwen, Mom, we need more food. I'm sick of eating leftovers from 3 days ago. Christine, I know, I'm sorry. I already sent money to Robyn. I'll try again next week. Rachel turned back to the jury. Even Christine's own children saw the disparity. They lived it. They texted it. This wasn't concealed, it was endured. Day after day, year after year. And then Rachel asked the question that would shatter the air in courtroom 6A. Miss Brown, can you tell this court what that felt like? Not just as a daughter, but as a child watching your mother sacrifice and yet being told, those are for my kids. The gallery went dead still, waiting for Gwen's answer. Dead still, waiting for Gwen's answer. The The courtroom lights buzzed faintly overhead, but no one noticed. All eyes were locked on the witness stand where Gwen Brown had just stepped down, her words still vibrating in the air like the aftershock of an earthquake. The gallery looked stunned, reporters clutching their pens but forgetting to write, fans from the Sister Wives era dabbing at their eyes, and even skeptics leaning forward, no longer doubting Christine's story. But Christine's lawyer wasn't done. Rachel Vance stood deliberately, every motion controlled, every detail rehearsed. In her hand was a thick manila folder, and the way she clutched it made the room lean forward. It wasn't just a folder. It was a detonator. "Your Honor," she began, her voice calm, unwavering, "we now submit Exhibit C. What you're about to see will confirm what Christine and her daughter have bravely testified to. It is not just evidence. It is the promise Robyn Brown herself made." The projector screen flickered to life, throwing pale light across the courtroom walls. A document appeared, aged slightly, the ink smudged but clear enough for every juror to read. At the top, Household Grocery Agreement, May 2nd, 2013, and below, 4 signatures. Mary Brown, Janelle Brown, Christine Brown, Robyn Brown. Gasps spread through the gallery like ripples on water. Rachel walked slowly toward the screen and circled one clause in red. Her voice grew sharper, more deliberate. Clause 5. Funds will be gathered on a monthly basis. The appointed household grocery coordinator, Robyn Brown, shall ensure equal distribution of food and necessities based on the number of children per household. All children shall be equal priority, despite which wife is their biological mother. The words hung heavy, undeniable. Signed, dated, and binding. Christine didn't move. Her eyes were fixed on the projection, as though reliving the moment she signed that pact in blind trust. Cody shifted in his chair, rubbing his temples, refusing to meet her gaze. And Robyn went pale. Not upset, not defensive, just caught. The judge leaned forward, peering at the page. "This contract, it was willingly signed?" Rachel nodded once. "Yes, Your Honor. We even have testimony from the other wives confirming the family meeting where this arrangement was agreed upon." Robyn accepted this responsibility. She was the one with time, with access, with control. And she gave her word. Rachel tapped the screen. And yet, despite that word, more than 70% of all grocery orders over the next decade were delivered exclusively to her household. The room buzzed with shock. Even a juror's jaw visibly dropped. Then came the knockout. Rachel clicked a remote, and suddenly the courtroom was watching footage from 2015, a Sister Wives episode. The Brown family in a kitchen. Robyn smiling, gesturing with her hands. Her voice chipper, confident. "We've all decided I'll do the grocery orders because I've got the time. Don't worry, I'll look after everyone." The clip froze on Robyn's face, her grin wide, her eyes alight. Silence fell heavier than before. Rachel didn't even turn back to the screen. She faced Robyn directly. "You looked into a camera. You looked into Christine's eyes. You promised to take care of everyone. But you didn't. You broke it." Robyn's lawyer leapt up. "Objection. Emotional manipulation." The judge adjusted his glasses, his tone clipped. "Overruled, Mrs. Brown, you may answer." Robyn rose to her feet, trembling, her hands twisting the tissue in her lap. Her voice cracked. I didn't keep count. At first I tried, but things got overwhelming. The kids, the stress, the cameras. I didn't mean to hurt anyone. I thought if something was wrong, Christine would say something. Christine's voice cut through the room, quiet but sharp as glass. "I did." All eyes snapped to her. She didn't shout. She didn't rise. She just spoke from her chair, steady and broken at once. "You just didn't listen." Rachel clicked again. The screen changed to a calendar. Years stretched across it. Red dots for Christine's confirmed contributions. Green for deliveries to Robyn. Yellow for the rare, pitiful shipments to Christine. The screen was a sea of green. Almost no yellow. Rachel turned to the jury, her tone solemn. This wasn't a misunderstanding. It wasn't chaos. It was breach of contract, breach of trust, and breach of family. Robyn Brown signed her name to an agreement meant to protect every child, and then spent 10 years breaking it. Robyn's lawyer tried again, desperation creeping into her voice. "Your Honor, this was a spiritual family arrangement, not a legal business. My client never had legal training. She was doing her best under chaotic circumstances." The judge leaned forward, his voice heavy with authority. "Maybe, but when money is exchanged, when signatures are given, and when children's welfare is at stake, the rules still apply." The defense attorney sat down slowly, defeated. And in that moment, everyone knew. The real trial had only just begun. The real trial had only just begun. Rachel Vance, Christine's attorney, wasn't done yet. She raised one last sheet of paper, her voice steady but sharp enough to slice through the tension in the room. This email, she announced, was sent by Robyn Brown to Christine in 2016. The courtroom leaned in as Rachel began to read, "Hey Christine, heads up. I had to use this month's grocery fund for some extra homeschooling supplies and a few bulk items for the pantry. I'll catch up with your house next cycle." Rachel lowered the paper. Her tone hardened. That next cycle never came. 8 years have passed. The promise was broken before it even began. Christine sat perfectly still at the plaintiff's table. Her hands were clasped tightly, knuckles pale, but her face carried a quiet grace. Her lips trembled as if holding back 1,000 words she had never been allowed to speak. Her eyes glistened, but she refused to let the tears fall here. Not now, not when the truth was finally breathing. The jury shifted in their seats. A woman with glasses wrote furiously on her notepad, her lips pursed. A man at the end of the row shook his head in disbelief, muttering something under his breath. It was no longer just paperwork, it was betrayal, captured in writing. Rachel closed the folder, her gaze sweeping across the jury. "I don't think Robyn Brown is a monster," she said, her voice quieter now but sharper than ever. "But I do think she weaponized convenience, favoritism, and power. And the one who paid the price for all of it was my client, Christine Brown, a mother who gave and gave until there was nothing left to take." The judge dismissed the court for recess, and the explosion happened outside. Reporters swarmed the courthouse steps, microphones flashing, headlines already being written in real time. Christine's receipts shatter Robyn's defense. Signed agreement exposed. Robyn fed only her own kids. Cody silent, Christine speaks. Inside, Christine walked past Robyn without a word. No eye contact. No acknowledgement. She didn't need to. For the first time in years, Christine wasn't the invisible wife fading into the background. She was center stage, and the truth was finally hers to hold. 4 days of testimony had brought the world here. Decades of secrets, receipts, favoritism, and wounds that had never healed were now spread open under courtroom lights. The gallery had wept with her. The jury had seen the documents. The public had filled forums, TikTok, and YouTube with outrage. And now it all came down to one moment. The jury returned, faces pale and heavy with the weight of their decision. The foreperson, a woman in a blue blazer, clutched the verdict envelope as if it might burn her hands. The judge's voice rang out, "Has the jury reached a unanimous verdict?" The foreperson nodded. "We have, Your Honor." The envelope was passed forward. The judge unfolded the paper slowly, adjusting his glasses. He read once, twice, then looked up. In the matter of Brown versus Brown, breach of domestic agreement, financial abuse, and emotional harm, the jury finds in favor of the plaintiff, Christine Brown. The room gasped. Then silence. A silence so heavy it seemed to smother even breath itself. Christine did not move at first. Her lips parted, her eyes blinked, but no sound came. Tears welled, but she held them. The judge continued. "We grant damages of $32,000 for misappropriated contributions. We also recognize the violation of a signed agreement and the emotional harm inflicted upon the plaintiff and her dependents. Mrs. Robyn Brown is ordered to submit a formal written apology within 30 days and return to this court for a damages schedule." Christine exhaled, slowly, deliberately, as if surfacing from underwater after years of drowning. Her attorney squeezed her shoulder. "You did it," she whispered. Behind her, Gwen broke down, burying her face in her hands. McKelty leaned in and held her hand tight. The daughters cried quietly, but their mother stood tall. Across the room, Robyn staggered to her feet, eyes red and lips trembling. "I didn't want this," she stammered. "I tried my best." The judge's reply was cold, final. "Intent does not erase impact. You signed a contract. You broke it. This court has spoken." Robyn collapsed back into her chair. Cody leaned close, jaw tight, whispering something only she could hear. "You could have ended this years ago." But it was too late. Outside, the courthouse steps became a wall of cameras and microphones. Christine emerged with her daughters at her side. She wasn't sobbing. She wasn't broken. She stood like a woman who had been ignored for decades, now finally heard. She stepped up to the microphones. Her voice rang steady. "I didn't come here to hurt anyone. I came to tell the truth. For my children, for myself, and for every woman who has ever been silenced. She paused, scanning the crowd. For years, I gave and I gave, believing I was part of something sacred. But faith can't survive when trust is broken. This isn't just about money. It's about fairness. It's about respect. And today, I finally got both. The crowd erupted with questions, but Christine had said all she needed to say. She turned and walked away, her daughters surrounding her like a shield. Meanwhile, Robyn and Cody slipped out a side door, faces hidden behind sunglasses. They didn't answer a single question. They didn't need to. The world already had its answer. That night, headlines exploded across every platform. Christine Brown wins court battle. $32,000 verdict against Robyn Brown. Justice for Christine. Clips of Gwen's testimony went viral. Millions of views in hours. Christine's courthouse speech was shared on women's empowerment pages across Instagram and TikTok. Fans called it the moment she finally took her power back. Weeks later, Christine posted a photo on Instagram. Her kids at the dinner table, smiling, serving food, laughing together. Her caption was only 4 words. This time we eat first. Robyn's court-ordered apology letter surfaced soon after. It read, "To Christine Brown and her children, I apologize for my mismanagement of the family grocery fund. I regret the hurt and imbalance my actions caused. I hope in time trust can be rebuilt. Robyn Brown." But for many, the apology was too little, too late. The damage was already done. Christine, however, was just beginning. Invitations poured in, podcasts, women's panels, interviews. She even began drafting a book, not a tell-all, but a guide for women on fairness and financial equity. Her working title, More Than Enough. As for Cody and Robyn, TLC quietly suspended production. The empire they built on family unity had collapsed under the weight of receipts and truth. Christine didn't just leave court with money. She left with something far more valuable, her voice. And this time, she wasn't giving it back.